Welcome to Automotive Cybersecurity Talk from the experts at S-Script, leaders in securing automotive embedded systems. Each episode, we cover anything and everything from the evolving world of vehicle cybersecurity. Sit back, enjoy, and let us know what you think.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Automotive Cybersecurity Talk podcast, or if you are new here, welcome. We're very happy to have you here, and especially for our very special episode this month. We are recording this in October, which is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I invited a very special guest today, which is my dear coworker, Amrita, and we're going to talk about women in cybersecurity. Welcome, Amrita.
Hi, hey Karina. Hi everyone. I'm really excited to be a part of this podcast here in this National Cybersecurity Awareness Month and especially for this topic, women in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I'm very excited for our episode. So I'm not sure if everyone listened to all of our episodes, which of course they should have. But maybe I introduce myself first. My name is Karina. I'm working with S-Script for over 10 years now. I've been in various offices in various positions, and right now I'm in the US in our sales team. So I will interview the expert, which is you, Amrita. Maybe you can shortly introduce yourself to our audience so that they know who my guest is for today.
For sure, Karina. Thank you. So, hi everyone. I am Amrita. I'm a security consultant slash tester working for eScript for the last almost 5.5 years. For the most part of my time in eScript, I have worked as a consultant. So most of my discussions with customers has been on the consulting side, but I'm slowly learning and trying to get immersed into the testing team. And it's really exciting to see both ends of cybersecurity that way. And previously, I had done my master's from Northwestern University, so that is where it led me to Script, and I have been here since I started my career in the US.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, you're pretty versatile. I feel you mentioned you're a consultant and you're a tester. I remember when I came to the US, you were partly a PKS FAE as well. So you've done all sorts of things in your career. Um, that's that's really interesting. So we wanted to talk about women in cybersecurity, and of course, when we say women, we don't want to exclude anyone or include people, but it's just a very interesting topic, especially in the STEM area. I feel, and then cybersecurity is one part, but then automotive industry is the other part, and bringing it all together makes it even more interesting. I feel so. How did you ended up here? I mean, we both work in this industry, and we both, I think, have pretty different ways how we ended up with automotive security. What was your way of landing with S-Script? So tell me more about that.
So, automotive and security was not something that I had in my radar growing up. So, I wouldn't say that no, I was meant to do this or I grew up knowing I would do this. I was interested a lot in engineering and all these engineering subjects they say in general, such as physics, maths, chemistry, anything to do
Hmm.
with science. And a lot of my cousins and others, neighbors that I know or I grew up with were engineers, which made me think that this is what I should do. And I was really good at picking up maths and other subjects. I remember growing up, I used to really be interested in this NASA space missions. So
Oh,
I
wow.
was in India, and I remember seeing this news that a group of NASA Explorer or Voyagers, they took the satellite, and among them was a scientist called Kalpana Chawla, and her being a woman, especially a brown woman, and going for a NASA adventure back then was very
Hmm.
interesting. Unfortunately, that space mission did not reach a good ending. I mean, there was an explosion, but that was a very important driving factor for me to get into engineering, to learn how things happen, how spaceships work or any engines work. It could be an
Mhm.
industrial engine. Then I moved on to do my undergrad, and while doing undergrad, I chose this interesting subject of instrumentation engineering, which
Mhm.
kind of is learning about the different instruments and um, different industries. It could be like a chemical industry or a nuclear power plant. Um, but especially when I came to do my master's here, I realized and I took this course on digital communication. And that's where I learned the first time about cybersecurity, or, how digital communication takes place and why security is important.
Mhm.
So all of this, uh, Alice and an attacker, and all these stories that I read. So I knew that I wanted to go somewhere where I would learn more about cybersecurity, and my interest for working in the domain which had to do with moving parts, moving vehicles, moving spaceships was also interesting to me. And I'm just glad that I found eScript. I joined a company, a team where I could see this automotive and cybersecurity growing together, and I could develop my career in it.
Mhm. That sounds awesome. You found in a very small industry back then, I feel, that can fulfill both of your passions. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Karina?
It
What
was
made you choose?
for me it was the other way round. So you just explained you had this passion for engineering in general and for getting things moving, engines, and all these machines. For me, it was the opposite. I was totally into security. I didn't know it back then. I was a small girl and I didn't know what security is, but I was completely a huge fan of all these secret ciphers, sending encrypted messages to my friends. And we had these little books where we could do the Caesar chiffre and then exchange the letters and send secret letters. And the teacher, even if they caught us, they couldn't read it. So that was awesome. And I was completely into all sorts of secret messages basically without even knowing that this was security and this was cryptography. And then I continued reading these children detective books, stuff like that. So that was my passion. And then when I came to a point where I had to decide what I want to study, I thought, well, I like math and I like these secrets, but I didn't even know about security as a university course. So I started electrical engineering because I figured it's with math and it's somehow information technology related. So I thought that might be a good option without really knowing too much about engineering, honestly. And then my first day at university, I was sitting in my greetings hour where they say hi to the student, and there was this professor, Professor Parr from Ruhr University, pretty famous in the industry as well. And he said, well, we have IT security as a bachelor degree. And I was completely into it. So within, I think, my first week of university, I changed my course and I quit the engineering even before I started. And I started the IT security course. And then I thought that's awesome. And I did it. I loved all the cryptography stuff we learned and all the math. And it was, I mean, we did some parts electrical engineering as well, but it was also very mathematical. So calculating RSA on a sheet of paper and things like that, crazy stuff. But it was awesome. I really loved it. And then by accident, I ended up in the automotive industry without even knowing that something like automotive cybersecurity exists. It was, ESCO was founded from this university, so it was a natural thing for me to apply there. And I thought I'm going to do all sorts of cool stuff with security, and then it was automotive, and so I got into the engineering automotive part, and now I'm really excited about this topic. I think we both are. We come from different angles, and we met in the middle and have this awesome new kind of new industry in the middle, which I really like. So it's very
Yeah,
cool to see that we both have different ways, and then we end up in the same industry, and now we do different things here, although it's the same industry.
yeah. Especially when you talked about the part about the mathematical calculations and stuff. I remember when I was in my master's class, and our professor introduced about like RSA and all this different kind of calculation on how the encryption process works, I was just taken aback, and I'm like, why didn't no one introduce it to me before this? And I mean, I was not so much into reading textbooks unless it was necessary, but this is one book I remember, the digital communication book. I completed it and I went to another professor of mine and I was like, I want to work on a thesis on this topic. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's great. How was your studies in general? Was it were there a lot of women, or was it just you, the only one? How was that? Especially, I feel women in STEM is. I am very happy to see more women in automotive cybersecurity than they were like 10 years ago when I joined. But how was it in your university?
So starting from bachelor's, I think my undergrad degree, the number of women were of course like probably 10% of the number of men
Mhm.
in a class. Um, as I came to masters to do my specialized electrical engineering, there were far lesser women. But there is this big gap. I did my undergrad back in India and my masters in US. So the class structure was slightly different. So you choose the classes that you want to attend and you sit in that class. Whereas in my undergrad, we had a set classroom of 40 people. And you would see the same friends and same people repeating the class. So some courses I remember which had to do more with computer science, I would say, or human computer interaction, UI design, had always comparatively more women than a course on control systems or digital communication.
Mhm.
Uh, but I also feel that until a very long time, I did not even realize that that was an aspect. But I see that as I'm growing up, I mean, it's a lame term to use, but as I'm growing up and as I'm getting more older and
Mhm.
mature, is when I'm realizing this aspect of how many women in the industry, how many girls did I study with, they matter. But back then, I think you are just in your own world and you're like, okay, I'm studying and I have five friends and I have a good time.
Mhm.
But I remember most of the courses that I took, it was always easier for me to approach a girl and be like, hey, did you do this assignment?
Mhm.
Because usually I saw that boys, if they're especially new in a class, they would all club together, all the girls will club together. It's only
Mhm.
later
Mhm.
after you know people that you kind of mingle around with each other. But yeah,
Mhm.
I would say my experience was good, but of course, there were lesser women.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Karina? What was your experience like?
It was very similar. My university time was really great. I started as one of the only women. I believe there were a handful maybe, but then once I graduated, I think I was the only one left. At least in my year. Of course, there were women in the year below me and above me, but I think in my year I was the only one
Oh,
graduating. But I had not the only one, but the only women. But I had a great time. It was really fun. I was never really aware about the number of women, as you said. It had advantages, right? If you like be the only one in a course, it can be really good. And I feel these advantages continue in my career now. It's interesting that you mentioned it. I feel similar that when I was in university as a student, I never really paid attention to it, but now I do. So now I feel I enter a room and I'm like, oh, there's another woman. That's awesome. Or I go to a conference and I get so thrilled if I see a female speaker at a conference giving a talk. So that was really rare a couple of years ago, but I think now it just gets more and more, which I really like. And I do believe that, without touching all these cliches here, I do believe that women bring a very unique perspective and a unique value to the industry. And maybe because it is so new, like automotive cybersecurity is not a classic year old or century old industry that grow and it's all male dominated. I feel it's a very new STEM area. So it is very interesting for me to see how this industry develops and how fast it develops and how diverse it is. I think it
Yeah,
started maybe male dominated, but it's very fast living, I
yeah,
feel, with
I,
women being a big part of that.
yeah. I think that's very interesting. I mean, I remember like when I joined eScript, I think probably a year after I went to this conference, and there was this talk given by about importance of cybersecurity in the automotive industry, especially by it was given by someone at Harman who was a woman, and I was so interested and
Mhm.
impressed and happy going to this conference. And I'm it is very right. I mean, there are industries which have been there for so long. I mean, automotive in general,
Mhm.
IT, and web and back end sort infrastructure sort of industries, and I think they have good representation number as well. But given that how new of an industry we are, I think we are not very far behind from the other industries at this point.
Yeah, I would even say we might even be ahead. Um, I don't know if that's true. It's a very uneducated guess here, but at least that's how I feel. Especially I'm following a couple of groups on LinkedIn where so many women post cool stuff about automotive cybersecurity, and it's just great to see. I feel, and maybe we can chat about that. How you feel about that? Is it really that we need these cliches? Like, I mean, people say, oh, male persons do are very tough and they are very like outgoing and they are really the great engineers, and then female persons might be more like better in soft skills and stuff like this. Is this something you would observe too, or?
I I mean, the thing is that I mean, if we are going into cliches, I agree to the good part of it that women have soft skills, but I probably disagree to the other aspect of it that women cannot be outgoing or
Mhm, mhm,
talk about technical stuff because I'm surrounded by many women engineers, managers, salesperson like you who I think are technically really qualified, and but given the soft skill part, which I agree with, I think we bring a very different perspective when we are talking to customers, when we are talking to different team members. Cybersecurity, because it is so new in the automotive industry, a majority of our time is spent with talking to people who may or may not know about cybersecurity. And I feel it is very important that any consultant or a salesperson or an engineer takes the empathy into people who do not know and are fine educating
mhm,
them in the process of selling whatever they are selling or working for them.
mhm,
And I personally feel women would probably mold right into the teaching part of stuff without feeling that it's an additional work for
mhm.
teaching people the basics of security. But I have really great colleagues, male colleagues, who do the same. But given the soft skills, I think it's more easier or more self driven by women.
Mhm. That is, I mean, you mentioned the teaching aspect, and I totally agree with that. I remember when I started my career and working full time, cybersecurity seemed to be something that nobody wanted to spend money on, and people were like, "Oh, we don't need that, and we only do it because we have to, if we do it at all." And I think back then it was more something to annoy people rather than really that people knew it's good and it's important. I think that the awareness increased dramatically in the last year, so people now understand that it is important, especially in automotive industry and all this connected car, autonomous driving. It doesn't work without security, so I feel that changed. Do you think that, or do you agree with that? I mean, my role in a sales world, I try to sell stuff to people, but um, I sometimes have customers that completely are aware of that, and others are not aware at all, and they need this education, or they might have some bits and pieces that they heard in the media. You are talking to a completely different group, not completely, but way different group than I
Yeah,
do, like to
yeah,
technical security experts to their managers, to their bosses, giving training, stuff like that. Would you agree that the awareness increased in the last
I
years? And do you
do.
think you do? Awesome.
I do.
um,
Yeah, because, I think the people communicate with the most are probably the software engineers or project
mhm,
leads, TPL, they call it, team program leads, or system engineers. And because it is driven by a few things. One is because, as you said, it's everything is becoming connected cars or self-driving cars, which is full of like having over the air firmware updates. So your car is supposed to behave like an iPhone, where it just gets the firmware and starts updating whenever it's parked up at a particular place. So of course, people start thinking that, hey, so if we are getting a firmware from somewhere else, a software, do we need to make sure that nobody's doing anything bad to it? So
mhm,
these are the small things. The other aspect is, I think, a lot of the original manufacturer, the car companies, have thought about it. I think they have spent a good amount of time developing their requirements, and they are pushing down a lot of this knowledge to a lot of different suppliers. So I feel there are less people who have to explain why security is needed, but
mhm,
probably I still have to explain what are the different kind of signatures or what are the different kind of encryption they could use.
mhm,
And that is acceptable. I mean, I don't think everyone should know it. If everyone knows it, then probably a consultant is not needed. So,
mhm.
so at least we
Yeah,
need it until people know it.
that's true. I just a thought came to my mind where I was based on what you said that it's not so much educating people, but not I mean educating in the sense of making them aware security is important, but it's more a question educating them on the right choices of security. I was just thinking, would you say that now that people know more about cybersecurity and the especially automotive cybersecurity is getting more mature, that people tend to fall into this over engineering. Like there's so much cool stuff you can do with security, so we want to have it all, and we do these crazy put 10 algorithms in a mix and come up with something new and put a fancy secure boot on top. So would you say that the industry maybe is at a risk to drift to the other extreme? Like, can there ever
Um,
be too much security?
I I mean, if a security expert or a requirement engineer is someone who is handling the budget of the project, I think so. But that's not the case. So I had heard this quote some time ago when I joined the industry. When you sell security as a feature, you don't really see the feature, right? I mean, a customer
Mhm.
doesn't see it. It's not a feature that they can see. So I think no matter how much security requirements we put in, by the time the industry, the different chips that can handle the different requirements that you put, or the budget allows them to implement everything, it's going to be a really long time. So because at this point we are still playing the catching up game, I feel, in the automotive industry,
Mhm.
uh, especially with all these regulations like the UNECE standard for
Oh yeah.
cybersecurity or the ISO 21434. I think the catching up game is going to be quicker. Maybe we are going to achieve the goal soon. Uh, but I wouldn't say that we are going into over engineering part of it. Maybe in discussions and in meetings, but in reality, probably not. But you are the salesperson. Do people order way too much than what we could imagine?
No, I think what you said is actually pretty accurate. Like as soon as the budget comes into the discussion, then all these fancy wish list items get shorter or get removed. I feel, and I think we might, and hopefully the listener can feel it too. We both get really excited about cybersecurity here, so I feel it's an industry where if you look into the details, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. So you get excited. It's like, oh my God, I want to have that. I feel a couple of years ago, it was this side channel attack topic. People just heard about it and they're like, oh my God, it's so cool. I want to have side channel attack countermeasures in my small
Hmm.
little ECU. And back then, we basically what I told them is, look, you have way other issues. If someone is doing a side channel attack on your ECU, they probably deserve the fame because there are so much easier attacks at that point in time that you shouldn't worry about side channel. But it was just this buzzword that everyone I felt got hyped up about, and I gave some talks about what even is a side channel attack and how would you interact or counteract it. That has gone away in the last years, but I feel other topics might go into like replace that. So there are all these new cool stuff that people want to do and that they feel they need while they still play the catch up game.
I agree. I mean, one of the topics that comes to my mind, which I get excited about, is testing, right? I mean, I still have a lot of customer who I have to explain what fuzz testing is. I mean, people should go back
Mhm.
and probably listen to our podcast if they don't know what fuzz
Mhm.
testing is. But like those are probably going in the right direction when they're talking about developing security for their product. Test your product to see what the gaps are, or use the different tools that are available to see how well the tier ones or the OEMs meet up to the standards of our regulations for security. uh, if you want to secure everything, I mean, it's way too much. Probably step by step and going uh, in the right direction by following the right measures is what we should do, and probably what we are doing. I mean, the type of projects I do, I'm sure the purchasing team and the sales team are doing a good job in selling the right products at this point, at least.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I feel that in general, the industry is going in a really good direction and a very responsible direction. It's not over over engineering right now. Maybe le- it will come there. I don't know, but I think it's pretty balanced right now, and I think it's a good level so far. Would
I
you
agree.
say like what other exciting new challenges do you see? I mean, we talked a lot about where we come from and that we're kind of a quite new industry, and I feel we're pretty mature right now already. So do you see any new challenges at the horizon? Anything that you are excited about to consult people on in the next couple of years, maybe?
Yeah, of course. I mean, as you said, it's a new industry. We are still very new. There are still people who do not know what automotive cybersecurity is, or security in the automotive industry is. And one of the things that I mentioned briefly in my the last bit I was talking, the regulations, the UNEC WP29, which are the European regulations, and the ISO 21434, which are the American regulations. The documents were published. I think the European regulations have a deadline, after which every car that comes out needs
Mhm.
to meet a few goals, security goals or objectives. Similarly, for ISO 21434, there are few recommendations versus few requirements which they need to meet. I think that is going to remove the gap that may be in the security industry. I
Mhm.
have worked with tier one suppliers who have a fully defined security process versus other tier one suppliers who may know what security is, but they're very clueless on how to go about traceability of security, for
Mhm.
example. So I feel um, these regulations are going to reduce the gap or remove the gap. And I'm really interested to consult new customers to talk about these regulations, tell them where the gaps are, suggest some testing on their existing modules to see
Mhm.
how security is implemented, if they are able to meet uh, the requirements or the standards that are needed. And I think it's a challenging open world right now out there.
Yeah, that's exciting too. I totally agree. I'm very excited as well to see how that will go. Some people are doing really great right now. Others have at least great ideas. I'm wondering like how each of them is going to manage all of that. it's not just implement it and come up with a solution or a concept and write some piece of code and get it integrated, but then how do you manage it over the life cycle of a vehicle, which I believe is a completely new thought. I mean, it has been around for a year or two, but maybe longer. But it's like it's not this old feeling like you put the car out there and then it's gone, and maybe you see it for a repair, and then
Yeah.
after 3 to 5 years you never see it again. But now it's like, well, you have to manage the cybersecurity risk of a vehicle until forever. I don't know, 20 years or so. So I think that will be a very interesting challenge to solve, how people are going to do that, and if they
Yeah.
can manage to get it done in a, I mean, it has to be efficient because it's so much and so many risks for all of these ECUs, and then one car has ECUs from different tier ones, and they may have tier twos delivering stuff. So that will be a huge just management task, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we look at our the other aspect of cybersecurity, right, the other industry that is the like Google, Facebook, the web world, right?
Mhm.
They have so much money and resources with respect to people put into just maintaining the infrastructure,
Mhm.
which is the management of keys and certificates and how the exchanges take place. I have been involved in a lot of discussions where we see that the keys were developed, like some of the keys which is used for signing, for example, signing a piece of software. You There is a field in the signing key creation process which is called the life expiry date of the key.
Mhm.
And sometimes what happens, because this topic in general is so new, that people don't think or pay attention and they might just select 2 years or something. And then they realize that somebody was supposed to change the key for production, but that did not happen. And
Mhm.
now they're almost close to production with the key whose expiry date is just 1 year remaining from now. And so but yeah, I mean, lessons learned, probably people learn, and that's coming more into action. I've been into different discussions on how key exchange should take place between different parties,
Mhm.
be it a supplier or a OEM. So it's very interesting, and a lot of development and growth is there in this industry, especially on the infrastructure back end, because so many topics probably people had not thought of or are thinking now.
Yeah, that's right. Especially key management, even with new players. If we think about V2X communication, suddenly you have a city government in there as well who might want to be owner of the key or something like
Mm.
this. So we
Yeah.
probably have even to get used to more industries and not only the automotive and security, but also cities, governments, I don't know, highway owners. Who else might there be?
Well, I get excited when you say that. I mean, probably at some point, 10 years from now, will be as big as probably the web industry out there, right? Our infrastructure will be almost merged into that or something like that.
Hmm.
Let's
That
see.
would be pretty interesting. But that's too far, too far. That's science fiction, I feel. But it might be there faster than we think.
Yeah.
Um, So, coming back to our original topic, I mean, I am a huge believer in diversity, and of course, women are part of that, as are several other groups. How would you think we can increase diversity in the industry? I think we are doing okay-ish, but you can always do better. So, do you have any thoughts on how can we increase more young girls, probably, to maybe even look into STEM, which I feel is still an issue. It's getting better, but it's not that a lot of girls naturally would pick a STEM subject, and even spread awareness that there is something like automotive cybersecurity, specifically the combination of the two.
Yeah, I feel a lot of the to get people interested, what's more important is probably the word of mouth. I think,
Mhm.
say for example, I work in automotive cybersecurity and my friends know about it and they know that, oh, it's so interesting. So maybe they can tell someone who is just about to join a college or just about to join school that, this sounds very interesting. Of course, there are recruitment opportunities and other aspects that could be improved, but what would get women or girls more interested would be probably to see more women and girls and people
Hmm.
who can speak up and who are probably more visible, and people who are already working just like you and I. Maybe we should go out and talk to other people. This podcast is an example
Hmm.
uh, of letting them know that, hey, we are in such a cool industry. um, it's
We are,
easier.
yeah. People all join us, please. We are pretty cool.
We are cool.
Join
So
automotive cybersecurity. Yeah.
yeah, what I feel happens is when we are looking for an intern, for example, um, if a person is looking, is just telling his friends, his or her friends about, hey, we have the school internship opportunity, would you join us? So what happens is, because there are more men in the industry, so that's why it just passes on to more men. Of course there are women who apply, but I think it just has to be more women driven now. The women in the industry should be more outward and just say it out loud, hey, come join us.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think coming back to our original, how we ended up in security, which was by accident, basically.
Yeah,
Um, Maybe just as an encouragement, if you are interested in something that has to do with cars, vehicles, spaceships, math, security, encryption,
anything.
secret messages to your friends. Maybe just sign up for an internship. I feel we have a lot of these people that are not native from this industry. So having someone, I think the first universities just shortly started to have a dedicated course or a lesson for automotive cybersecurity. But I feel if you just somehow interested, just come from related industry and just do an internship or just try it out and then you
Yeah,
learn it by doing basically.
I think we both took a chance.
Hmm.
um, and probably that's what being in STEM is about, right? It's a very broad field, and take a chance, do an internship, see if you like it.
See if you like it, right?
Yeah.
That's a great advice. Maybe we should also write a children's book so we can get the 8-year-olds all hyped up for
I
security.
I really want to know, what spy book did you read that got you interested here? Now, like, I really want to see that spy book or detective spy book.
I will see if I can find it. It might be German though. I don't know if they have an English translation.
That's a very great idea to get kids interested, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's great for them to be interested to be Superman or Batman, or Batwoman, but then, you know, hey, be a cybersecurity man slash woman.
Right. Awesome. I think that's yeah, we should all be advocates for our industry and I think a lot of women are already doing a great job. As I said on LinkedIn, I love to follow all these posts there. Um so I hope we continue to grow as an industry like I've seen it in the last 10 years, which was so exciting. I was really when I prepared for the podcast and I looked back and I remember where we started 10 years ago, it's crazy how far we've come and how grown up we all are now and
Yeah.
um
I remember the first thing that I saw when I joined this company, I was asked in my interview and I didn't know anything about it, was the Jeep attack. Uh,
oh yeah.
and that feels like a while ago now, but it's not actually. It's just a few years back. And we have reached very different place since the Jeep attack happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saying like the whole industry is
The whole industry. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah, that's true. I remember that time as well. Do you have any closing remarks? Anything you want to tell our audience, tell the industry, tell all the young girls that might or may not listen to the podcast?
I think in security is new, and the industry is open to new experiences and new ideas. So if someone doesn't know about security, it's okay. And if someone does know about security, then probably go learn from them.
That's good advice. Learning is always great. Just ask people, and I'm pretty sure you are also open, and I'm open for sure. If one of our audience wants to continue chatting about this, just reach out to us. You can both find us on the S-Script webpage, I believe, or on LinkedIn. We love to chat about this topic. So if anyone is interested now and want to learn about automotive or cybersecurity or both, ideally, feel free to reach out.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
Thanks a lot for this great talk. That was really, really interesting. I learned a lot about you, which is crazy. We've been working together for so long, and um, I learned a lot. Thank you a lot. Also, thank you to our audience for listening in. And we hope that you liked this special episode about women in automotive cybersecurity and also about the industry itself a little bit and the history. So I hope that you will go back and listen to the episodes you've missed so far, and then stay tuned for the ones we plan to publish very soon. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you for joining this episode of Automotive Cybersecurity Talk. Please leave a comment or review with your feedback or what you'd like to hear in future episodes. To learn more about vehicle cybersecurity and S-Script's capabilities, visit our website at sscript.com. That's S-Script, ESCRYPT.com.